he figured out that once we had to learn this evolution, the beginning of the history of the tradition, that Dizzy and those guys embraced Cuban music, and with that, you learn your Night in Tunisia, all the Dizzy tunes and all of that weren't around with that. I mean, not even Caravan or that. This is authentic Cuban music, religious rhythms.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. The deities.
Yes. Yeah. And those rhythms have names, not
yes, they
funk.
Do. No. They
got names.
That's right.
Right. So Wawan Cole.
Yeah. Shango.
Yeah. Right. So you sort of figure that out after a while. You begin to be more explicit, more clear. I mean, and what it means, what those words mean, what it means culturally and everything. So you figure that out. Now he's got the rock and roll stuff, which at a certain point you figure out, wow, this is where the rock and roll stuff comes from. So how do you name that? Well, kids today, they'll say straight eighths.
Right.
They won't even straight eighths. They'll say straight. But when I was coming along, if you said straight, that meant
straight ahead.
Right, exactly. Right. Tertiary, triplets.
Right. Triplets. Swing.
Right. So now they've redefined something that, I mean, it's like what?
Yeah.
So then, Tone got that. Now he's got two ways of looking at straight eighths, and so that's another way of looking at the vocabulary. Now he goes to New York with Miles or Jackie or those guys, and the Brazilian stuff hits.
Yeah.
Except of course they don't call it Brazilian, or they don't call it the maracatu or the They call it the bossa nova
or the bayonne. They call it all the bossa nova.
They don't give it the names.
Yeah.
The deity names. They call it the bossa nova, which is just Brazilian for new beat.
Yeah.
Which just means I got something new that I'm gonna sell you. It may not be new, but if I say this new, then you think you're buying something new. Well, anyway, he gets now he's got three ways of looking at straight eighths that, as great as the other masters are, they haven't really looked at that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough to deal with just what we dealing with Big Sid.
Yeah, really.
Papa Joe. I mean, we still haven't. We still don't have that together.
Yeah, still.
Right.
It's more like a personal sound that you're trying to get to, but also it also is a balance between that and your touch. And so all of these don't. Okay, like Terry Lynn was saying, how you tune the drums is very important, but also your touch has to match how you tune the drums.
Right.
And so the legacy, all these guys from the legacy, they had a touch that matched the way that they tuned their drums for that style. And so Tony came along, and it was his touch, the way that he tuned his drums, and the ways that he would use those sounds, I like to say, to get his percussive stuff, because there's a sound that Tony used to get that the deepest professors could try to figure out how to write it out so that somebody could figure it out, or at least they try to define it. And before I saw Tony play, I worked on it a long time. And basically it's...
You're right.
And so what is that? You know, how do you define that?
Right.
And so these are some of the distinguishing things that Tony did. That were like, okay, can anybody say that Tony didn't have correct training, right?
Yeah.
But he did things that were outlandish. That one, for example. It's like they may say you're not supposed to be able to do that. You can't do that. How else are you going to get that sound? And so what I got from that was, okay, we spent a lot of time learning, getting our prowess in facility and training, whatever you want to call it. And then it comes time to break the rules and go for the sound that you're trying to hear. So that's what I heard also in Tony, was the rebel in him. The sounds that he used to get, you couldn't learn that at Juilliard or Berklee School of Music or any books. It was a movement. So that's when I started thinking about just the laws of physics. Tony got the drums to me past execution and playing. He got into like the laws of physics. And velocity and distance, which challenges dynamics, and he found his own special vocabulary within himself to just articulate how he wanted to express it. The same as Sid Catlett did, the same as Baby Daz did, Papa Joe did, Sonny Payne did, Max, Alvin, Art Blakey in their own way. And to me, that's the beauty about this music. It's that exploring yourself and finding yourself. I was raised, and of course he was that, okay, we study and try to emulate the masters, but to them, the last level was to find your own stuff, and so that's the reason that when I discovered Tony, it represented such a rebellious breakaway from the norms, and I was 14 years old. That really got me. That the fact that I could use my classical percussion stuff in the jazz venue, and that's one thing that I really got from Tony. That's what I meant, is that sometimes he wasn't playing the drum set.
Right.
He was the percussionist in the orchestra. You know, and you're not supposed to do that. I like that. He was a rebel.
I was thinking about Sam Rivers as kind of a linchpin, bringing Tony, from, I don't know, do you feel like Sam, he also bridged so many different worlds within jazz?
But now that you mention it, when we talked about all the influences on Tony and stuff, Sam kind of brought kind of an avant-garde thing to Tony, because
that's exactly what brought it to him.
And like a lot of young drummers don't know that Tony had an avant-garde lean on him. Among the rest of his arsenal.
Right. A lot of it was avant-garde. I mean, yeah. Sam turned him on to what we used to call 20th century.
Yeah.
That's what you called it, right?
Yeah.
20th century harmony. Berg.
Yeah.
Webern.
Yeah. 12-tone stuff and all
Messiaen.
that. Yeah.
And he got that when he was 11, very young age. Anton Berg, Stravinsky, of course.
Stockhausen and
Bartok.
Yeah, Bartok.
So he got that at a very, very young age through Sam. And so that's what I think of when you said you saw some rebellion, this sound or that.
Yeah, right.
He got this, because it's Boston. It's European classical music.
Yeah.
it's the effect that European classical music has if you haven't studied it. You just listen to it.
Yeah.
You know.
I dig what you mean.
You know.
So Sam was kind of an element in this evolution.
Oh, no
towards
doubt
the
about it.
Oh, for sure.
freedom
No doubt about it.
That combined, oddly, like classical, but not
European
not in a
classical.
conservative way.
Yeah.
It's in a more progressive way, but it's this tympanic and different kinds of 12-tone approach. It's interesting.
And that drummers like Art Blakey, Elvin Jones, I guess you can go as far back as Baby Dodds, but that this instrument is the only instrument that was invented in this country. So you can hit the drums in such a way that you can relate to the harmonic movement.
Mm-hmm.
You can hit the drums in such a way that you almost can predict the response you're going to get, a melodic response.
Yes. Oh.
You know,
I wish I'd have written that one down, man. Yeah.
Not only a melodic response, but a harmonic response.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you certainly hear that with Elvin, with John.
Yeah.
And
You and Herbie.
boy, you're gonna do that.
I have to.
I'm from Washington, D.C., so I knew some guys that went from Washington, D.C. to Boston to play with him. And not only did they not like it, but they sent him home crying. They said, "Man, you got to learn how to swing, man. That's not it."
Yeah.
Of course, he was, I don't know.
What, 8? No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
well, something like that. Something like that. 11, but Miles could hear it. I mean, Miles could hear it. Well, there is a tradition to this music that I don't care what you do, we're still taught to look for that thing that the average person wants to hear.
Right.
So as you get older or as you learn more, you learn how to do that. So Tony definitely learned how to swing. I mean,
Yes, indeed.
I mean, like when the way he played the cymbal, when everybody was running out to pawn shops trying to get K cymbals, it sounded like him. Nobody seemed to check out that he had gone back and figured out the patterns that Papa Joe was playing on the open hi-hat. He just put it on the ride.
Yeah.
So for the people that never heard or thought they never heard Papa Joe, when you hear Tony, you're hearing Papa Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I will never, ever forget. And I didn't feel that I was worthy of that level of consideration. And the reason I couldn't rough it off or deny it or humble myself out and not address it or whatever was the fact that if anybody would know, he's one cat that would know. This was like 1975 or something like that. I'm playing, might have been the last gig at the last 5 spot on St. Mark's with Jackie McLean. And I look out into the audience before time to go on. Just like maybe my second year in New York. And who do I see sitting out in the audience but Billy Hart and Tony Williams? And I was, a rookie, a chump, overwhelmed. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Boom, and what am I gonna do now? You got two of the cats that I stole from. my formative years sitting out in the audience, and so it was a challenge for me to like try to find who I was. So I finished the set, wanted to run and go hide, but I have to go over and pay my respects to them. So I walk over like a little deflated puppy dog, and I say, "Hey guys, how you doing?" I say, "You have to excuse me. I'm still trying to get my stuff together." And Tony said something to me that I will never ever forget that I pass on. He said, "Well, you probably don't remember this, because you already knew about these things." Tony said, "Well, it could be that you're not comfortable with what you're playing because you've never heard it played before."
Right.
And that I got a lot of mileage out of that because that's the lonely part of the road to finding your own style that can anybody walk you through. There is no reference to you. And Tony dropped that on me, man, and maybe about 20 years later I felt I was eligible to consider it.
Right.
You know what I did? And I had a place to stay because there was a schoolmate from the University of Nebraska. I flew to New York with just a one-way ticket so I could see Tony play live.
Wow.
Not knowing how I would get back. Not caring how I would get back. Just because I had listened so much. And see, you have to understand, back in those days, we didn't have YouTube, a bunch of videos that you could watch, and the visual part is super important. So, I just wanted to see how he moved. So just to see how he would get some of those sounds and back to the laws of physics, movement, velocity and all that. And so one of the main things that I noticed about him, out of all the things that blew my mind, was his efficiency of movement. You know what I'm saying? It was like there used to be an old term. If you had a sports car, they used to call it rack and pinion steering. You remember that term?
Yeah.
Means if there was no play, that means you went like that. The car that was Tony. He was like,
Right.
super efficient movement. So it was worth, making that quantum leap.
Right.
I did get back home though.
How?
I called one of my big brothers, man.
Yeah.
For sure, if you're born in this lifetime, a Negro, as my father used to like that word the best, you have a genetic code that comes from rhythm. Not limited to that, because there are a lot of old souls and people who have had many lifetimes, and so any race or whatever who remembers their DNA from their past lives can get that same calling, whether they're aware of it or not. That's the reason. You see everybody everywhere listening to music, listening to the drums, be it hip hop, be it swing, because there's something that's magical in rhythm, especially if it has a repetitive thing. It becomes hypnotic and it spins your chakras and raises your vibrations, and all of a sudden you go to church and then you feel better. Makes people in the room be nice to each other. And that's what these guys taught me. I'm telling you, I'm just a product of the legacy. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all these guys we mentioned. Full of gratitude. You can believe that.
Rough guy. and to see it keep going.
Yeah.
You keep going no matter what. You know, how many times he said, man, well, jazz is dead, or it's not this, you know, it's not, you know, you know, it's something people used to like to say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
They say it now all the time.
yeah. They've been saying that since I started playing.
Yeah.
And
Every
just
time I
keep it-
hear somebody say that, they'll say, well, you should go down to Smalls any given night
Right, right.
and see the next generation
Right.
there hanging out the same as the Baroness used to back
Right.
in those days, you know,
Right.
around Charlie Parker, you know.
That's right. And you trying to define it is interesting, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, people, you end up just liking it, loving it,
Yeah.
adoring it.
Like whether you're playing or not,
Right.
it's a calling. It gets your interest. It resonates with you. You know, and all of a sudden,
Yeah,
ain't nothing. I mean, not that nothing else is as hip,
yeah.
but nothing else really like spins all your chakras as much as it does, because of all the aspects of this music. You know,
Improvisation.
the improvisation. Yeah.
I mean, it really gives you pleasure to have these beautiful experiences that you can't predict.
Yes. Yeah.
We heard a monk tune played the other night in a completely new way by Roy Haynes, right?
For sure.
And there's just, I think there's people who they're more like dopamine driven, that you have that pleasure from it. That's what you love.
Yeah.
There's other people who love power or love money or control, or that's different.
And the way and to hear Roy play it too, you know, just the way he played it. I mean, you just
He always puts his stamp on.
Right.
On.
and it was right there, you know. I just kept looking at him and saying, how did he know to hit it just like that, you know? And not, did he do all of this or that, but how did he know how to do that? Just put that there, and that there, and that there. And you know, and the groove was so deep, man. It was like, you know what I mean? And he wasn't banging on the hi-hat, you know, he wasn't like this.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, he wasn't even playing the hi-hat.
Remember, he had his foot up like
Right,
this.
right,
Yeah,
right,
that's what I've heard.
right.
That's what I've heard.
Right,
He's been putting his, you know, it's just like the little thing at the bar down the
And
footstool.
Marcus would do the same thing, except he had two hi-hat stands,
Right.
and he played them with one foot. So he had like this bell thing that he was playing with his heel. And
Right.
I never saw that
Yeah.
before.